Hello, dear viewers. You're watching OBN Horn of Africa, our special edition. Today, I'm joined by His Excellency Ephraim Tasamma, Deputy of Oromia Education Bureau. We're going to discuss about the education reforms that have been undertaken in Ethiopia, specifically in Oromia. Mr. Ephraim, thank you for joining us.
Thank you really for hosting me on OBN.
Yeah, to begin with, the education system in Ethiopia under several regimes is blamed for serving as a tool to sustain inequalities and injustice among citizens. What does this tell about the damaged education system can make on citizens if ill designed?
Well, for that matter, it's not only education that is not respecting disparity among the population of the country and ethnic diversities and gender, and you can call many. These were all neglected, and the neglection, I think, is very often deliberate. And concerning education, the public was complaining of this disparity, inequalities, and access to education in general. And this is not the only problem with education, but mainly the policy of education itself had significant elements that need to be corrected. And in the last 3-4 years, attempts have been made to suit to the public interests regarding education in general and quality education. And the policy change mainly emphasized that the education, as very often known, has 3 major objectives: the objective of knowledge provision, skills provision, and attitude in general. And mainly the serious problem with the past education policy was that the indigenous knowledge was totally neglected, or either a specific kind of narration was entailed, and their main objective was to unify the country by merging everything together, where diversity was not given due recognition. And these kinds of things have now been reconsidered, and the new education policy seems to have entertained all these problems, problem of knowledge, skills, attitude, and mainly indigenous knowledge incorporation into the system. And in the primary education, pre-primary education, all these have been well taken into consideration. And for the last 3-4 years, as you very well know, and Gada education was in place, and value educations and other kinds of civic education were somehow corrected. And this time, our children in the school, the family, and the public in general, and the Oromo elites have been applauding for these all changes, mainly that identity questions were well considered into the education system.
That's great. Would you please tell us about the current education policy in Ethiopia? Ethiopia is following, and its implementation status in Oromia.
You very well know that the curriculum for pre and primary education both started last year, and we have changed the curriculum, and we adapted it mainly with regard to language and culture and values. These were taken into consideration and translated. The national document, the national curriculum, is adapted to our region, and all the points I was mentioning were included into it. And last year, we started the new curriculum, and we've written a student textbook and teacher's guide, and all supplementary materials with regard to the new curriculum. And so until now, about 18 million textbooks and teachers' guide have been printed, and these printing materials have been dispatched to all districts. The printing industry, printing industry, prints and distributes the books to all districts we have in the region. We have about 342 districts in the region. So the dispatching is also in the bid for the printing purpose. And with regard to high school curriculum and the textbooks, and this was the responsibility of Ministry of Education. And the Ministry of Education prepared the textbook, and involving our personnel from Oromia Education Bureau and people from the region, the teachers and teachers training and instructors were involved in the production of the material. And workshops were also organized to edit, to see through the materials, the contents of the materials. And we had the chance to make our interest into the textbooks as the biggest region in the country. So the books prepared and printed abroad, and we have all dispatched the books to our schools, to our high schools. We have around 1,372 high schools. So the books have been distributed to all these areas. And we have distributed around 7.2 million books.
That's great. In the last 6 years, several sectors have undergone reforms. How do you see the reforms in the education sector?
Well, I think the education sector was the pioneer to make this reform. We started the reform a bit earlier in 2017, late 2017. We started some kind of reforms. For instance, self-contained class rooms and grade 10 complete teacher training were banned automatically as the reform, at the beginning of the reform. And for instance, in Fimfine, we did not have schools in Afan Oromo. So in the same year, we started primary school education in mother tongue, that is Afan Oromo. And today, that beginning has flourished, and we have over 100,000 students in Fimfine City being educated through Afan Oromo. And we have now over 17,000 teachers mobilized from Oromia who are teaching in Fimfine primary education. And not only that, all government or private schools in Fimfine teach Afan Oromo as a second language to any child in the city. So this is the biggest reform we believe have been brought in with the change of the government before 6 years. Not only this, in our region, we started school feeding programs, and this is another revolutionary kind of change. And we are these days providing food to school children to about 5.7 million students. And this has been expanding, and we are also involving teachers to get the service of feeding. And because teachers have to stay at school from morning to dawn, so the whole day the teachers to stay there means a big change. It adds or it contributes to some extent to the quality of education, because teachers wouldn't travel far and back for breakfast and for lunch and things of that type. Once they go to school in the morning, they join their students in class, and when they are free, They have the opportunity to go to library, to correct students' textbooks, assignments, and to advise students to do their CPD, continuous professional development activities. So these all, I believe, are changes. And most of the changes is significantly vivid in pre-primary education. You know, the education policy of the country didn't give due consideration to pre-primary education. Only private investors provided the opportunity to urban areas, to city areas, where capable, well-to-do families send their children to schools. But the majority of the people, over 90% of the population of the country, I can say, did not get the chance to pre-primary to the children. So what they used to do was, just when they were 7, when the children were 7, they send them to schools before knowing anything of how to handle their pen and pencil, before they discriminate between what is what regarding spelling and the like. So now this has been revolutionized, and we have built over 15,058 schools, pre-primary schools, with citizenship campaign. That is, every citizen in the country and investors, people who are eager to support citizen in education area involved in helping the schools. So through this citizen service campaign, we could construct all these schools with facilities from the public. And now we have over 1.8 million children in pre-primary schools. And this is a big change in the last 6 years, I can say.
Thank you. That's great. Access to education, curriculum, language, ignorance of stakeholders about children's right to education, quality of education, infrastructure gap, shortage of teachers in special needs education, family income or poverty are among listed as challenge of the education system in Ethiopia. What coping mechanisms are available to overcome those challenges?
Well, if you start counting our scarcities, you can't exhaust it. You better forget counting the scarcities in the country. As a developing nation, you know, there are lots of things that we are lack of. So anyway, what we are trying to do is, being in all these scarce environments of resource, for that matter, resources scarce everywhere. Everywhere where you find human beings, there is a scarcity, there is a limit, and the human need is unlimited for that matter. So what we're doing with regard to this is, because our school standard is far below the national standard. For example, 84% of our primary schools are below standard. So what we are doing is, we are mobilizing the public to furnish their schools, to improve the infrastructure in the schools, and input to classroom facilities. So these, we believe, will make change, and it has been making change. For instance, like I told you earlier, pre-primary schools were not there in the country. For instance, in 1990s, in 1992-3, our pre-primary schools were only 164. Today, like I mentioned earlier, we have 15,058 pre-primary schools. These all were constructed and facility fulfilled by our citizens. I'm proud of really the Oromo people and people living in Oromia, because they are very concerned about education, and they have the belief that all our social, political, and economic questions and demands are fulfilled through education. And the government is also doing its best to reach our schools, and mainly the girls in the rural areas with high school opportunities. Within 1 year, that is in 2020-21, we constructed 107 Ifaboru high schools. These high schools are to the standard. If you remember our high schools in the past days, up to 1991, we had only 108 high schools. And these high schools, the infrastructure is the poorest we can mention. They were mud-made from the wooden kind of construction, and where the space is very compact. But Ifaboru High School construction is really very modern. It has all the facilities needed, all the buildings that we need for classrooms, for management, for workshops, and for ICT pools and the like. And the library, you can call. And this shows the attention the government has been giving. And because the question of quality education is a serious question in the country, now we believe, and the regional government believes also, it is impossible economically mainly to change all the standards of the schools and bring them to the standard within very short period of time. So what we're doing is, regarding the infrastructure, as well as regarding quality of education, we are making a kind of competition, positive competition, one among children, among school students, among parents, among schools themselves, to compete and give their students to achieve high examinations on regional examination. What we're doing is we've constructed 7 boarding schools, special boarding schools. These boarding schools have all the facilities, not only learning materials, but sports fields and activities and workshops and ICT and internet services, all connections and smart classrooms are being provided to these schools. And we have also recruited based mind teachers from across the region to join the schools. So the students are also recruited based on their junior school, grade 7 and 8 transcripts, and their regional examination results, and then by their entrance exam results. So students who join there are encouraging their families and their friends to join this. You can't join the schools very easily. You have to work hard. Who is going to work hard? The students, the family, the teachers, the schools, the community itself have to compete to join the school. And this in general is making a kind of positive competition among all schools, and from early grade 1, even passing that to the level of pre-primary. And the family is planning to prepare the children to make them members of special boarding schools. And this kind of competition and public mobilization, we hope, will make some change. And that change is not vivid these days. And education change is not easily seen within few years. It's not like that of agricultural products. You give a good type of input to the agricultural sector, and the result is seen in very few months. When it comes to education, it's a different scenario. So we have the belief that in very few years, we will see the activities, the reform being made in education. And we are also making changes in education leadership. We are giving some kind of on-job trainings to our teachers. And for example, we are giving tutorial classes to teachers. We have surveyed and areas of difficulties of teachers with regard to all subjects. We have surveyed, we gathered information, and by using the information, we have organized a group of best teachers in different subjects, and we videoed the teachers here at a regional level, and we dispatched these video tutorial classes to all teachers across Oromia. And these and the CPD activities and professional teachers examinations, all these added together, hopefully will make change. Policy level change is there in the education policy of the country. Indigenous knowledge is included. And these indigenous knowledge activities, for example, Gada education. Gada system is the profound identity of the Oromo people, and all our politics, all our social values, all our economic and technology related identity are there in Gada system. And it is one of the cultural values that has been registered by UNESCO. And this kind of value was not given due consideration in the education system of the country. Now we have started teaching it. And what we for sure know is that the children have loved it a lot. Teachers are debating and fighting to teach the subject. The family has appreciated it. And even the family are trying to study it to help their children. And on top of these, value or courses, value-related, social value-related courses are being given to primary school up to grade 6. And entrepreneur, kidspreneur, a course which inbuilds or encourages children's natural capabilities is also included very recently, just beginning of this academic year. And the results that you are asking me cannot be seen, but we see only, we evaluate attitude of people, what they, from their comments, from different surveys, through supervision activities, we have this understanding, but the results will be seen almost after this generation starts to be somebody.
Good.
So the results cannot be seen very shortly.
Yeah, special boarding schools are offering some foreign language such as Arabic, French, and Mandarin. How will this contribute for Ethiopia's diplomacy with countries?
Well, thank you. You have already alluded the objective behind teaching these foreign languages. You know, in Ethiopia, we used to teach only English as a foreign language. It's a medium of language as well as a medium of communication for every purpose. But Ethiopia neighbors lots of various languages around it. For instance, the nearest is Arabic. The Arab world speaks the language. It's a prominent language across the world. So at least these base mind students have to be our ambassadors by using the language that we are offering them. So these languages are Arabic, Mandarin or Chinese, and French. French is the other language they are already being educated of. And not a child or a student in the boarding school learns all these languages. They have their options. They are given the opportunity to select one from the three in addition to English. So these children have started communicating already while they are in schools to secure different opportunities to introduce Ethiopia to across the world. They are trying their best through social media that is at their disposal. So it contributes to our belief a lot in the diplomatic activities, mainly in the future. The future world should be ours. That's the belief we have.
I want to talk about Gada education that has provided for students in lower level. Do you think this education brings significant change as as a tool to sustain the norms and values of the people?
No doubt. There is no doubt that this the study of Gada education brings change in the future generation. It has already started. Go to schools and talk to them about what Gada system is, who Oromo is in this in the Horn of Africa. They tell you everything, every detail. Even sometimes those professionals who prepared the textbooks and the curriculum felt ashamed of themselves going to schools. And the children have known lots of things just from the very beginning. And that shows the future of the country will reflect the past identity we had and the enormous, significant, valuable identity we had, which was about to vanish, has been being replaced, and coming back to our norm and values will no doubt make a change in the future.
If you have any concluding message, you're welcome.
Thank you, really, Mr. Tamasgen, for inviting me to this forum. And very often, you know, people leave the education sector to the government. But in no other nation, education is budgeted and run only and by the government. The community, when I say the community, I don't mean the students' parents, the community in general, and elites in and out, living domestic and abroad, should contribute their best to see what they aspire for as a citizen, and mainly as an elite of this community. You have the aspiration with regard to politics, economics, and social issues. And all these things are changed through the key that is education. So I am here on behalf of Oromia Education to ask the support of all citizens living abroad and home. Thank you for inviting me again.
Mr. Frem Tasamma, Deputy Head of Oromia Education Bureau, really, we appreciate for your insights.
That's very welcome. Thank you.
Dear viewers, that brings to the end of our program. Till next edition, have a nice time.